The poor dog was trapped inside the car, with the scorching 38.6 degrees Celsius outside turning the vehicle into a suffocating steam oven. It panted weakly, on the verge of suffocation. Suddenly, a hammer smashed through the car window. In its dazed state, the dog saw a warm face looking at it with concern, but then it passed out cold. When the dog woke from its coma, it found itself brought home by the woman. The little boy Ethan liked the dog very much. He named it Bailey and thoughtfully made a dog tag for it. They played together. They romped together, inseparable companions. With Ethan by its side, the dog lived happily. Biting its own tail on the lawn was its favorite daily activity. However, as Bailey quickly grew up, it began to have bold ideas. One day, it stared blankly out the window, seemingly plotting something. After the family left the house, Bailey eagerly knocked over the trash can, searching inside for food. After filling its belly, it lay on its back on the table in a carefree pose. More mischief followed. When bored, Bailey tried to play with the family cat, but the cat saw it as if seeing a predator and darted out. However, Bailey soon discovered the cat hiding under a pillow using its keen sense of smell. Then, a chase between cat and dog erupted in the house. When Ethan returned home and opened the door, the sight before him left him stunned. His father's study looked like it had been hit by a tornado, completely trashed. Although he hurried to clean up the mess, his father Jim discovered it upon returning from work. The situation instantly became extremely awkward. But that wasn't the end. The mischievous dog then snatched Jim's leather shoe and played a game of the dog walking the human with him in the yard. After catching Bailey, a furious Jim brought it to Ethan, telling Ethan he had to set boundaries for the dog. After his father left, Ethan cleaned up the study and said helplessly to the dog, "In this house, I'm number 2. You're the top dog." Once Ethan finally finished cleaning, he suddenly discovered his father's collection of antique commemorative coins. He couldn't resist playing with one in his hand. Unfortunately, he wasn't careful, and the coin was swallowed directly by the dog. Worried his father would be furious if he found out, Ethan immediately took the dog outside to defecate. But no matter how hard he squeezed the dog's belly or shook its body, the dog showed no sign of needing to poop. As expected, Jim soon learned about the incident. He locked the dog in the shed. Despite Ethan's desperate pleas, Jim remained unmoved. The dog knew its little master was sad. So late at night, it secretly escaped from the shed and returned to Ethan's side. Because Ethan needed it, and it couldn't leave Ethan. To win his father's forgiveness one day during a family outing, Ethan deliberately played fetch with the dog. He then showed his father a unique, difficult trick he and the dog had mastered. He threw the football with force and crouched down. Unexpectedly, the dog leaped into the air and successfully caught the thrown football. This impressive move finally brought a long-missing smile to his stern father's face. In the blink of an eye, the boy grew into a handsome young man. With the dog as his training partner, he became the team's star player, thanks to his superb skills. However, this made a teammate jealous, planting a terrible idea in his mind. Late one night, the teammate sneaked up to Ethan's house and threw a lit firecracker inside. Sparks immediately flew within the house, quickly starting a fire. The dog sensed the danger and urgently woke the sleeping Ethan. But by the time they tried to escape, the fire had already spread to the bedroom. Thinking quickly, Ethan used a bedsheet to rescue his mother. After the dog was also saved safely, it was finally his turn, but he accidentally let go of the sheet. Left with no choice, he jumped from the upstairs window. Unfortunately, a piece of wood fell, landing heavily on his leg and injuring it. Thankfully, helpful people came to assist. The dog also lay desperately on top of Ethan to keep him conscious. Fortunately, Ethan was not seriously hurt and was soon able to play with the dog again. But happy times are always short. Ethan prepared to say goodbye to the dog and leave for college, entrusting the dog to his grandparents in the countryside. Before parting, Ethan threw the old deflated football to the dog, telling it he would return soon. He then quickly drove away. Watching the car drive further and further away, the dog mistakenly thought Ethan was playing fetch. Happily clutching the football in its mouth, it chased after the car. It ran across golden wheat fields, through panicked sheep, then sprinted across meadows, finally catching up to Ethan's car. Seizing the moment, the dog leaped into the air, landing excitedly back beside its master, waiting for praise. But even though Ethan couldn't bear to part with the dog, he still forced himself to push it out of the car. Confused, the dog stood frozen, dumbly watching Ethan leave. It didn't understand what goodbye meant, but it knew a dog's purpose is to always guard its master. But now the master was gone. It seemed to lose its meaning. In the days that followed, the dog was no longer mischievous like before. It just stayed quietly under the table, ignoring even the food Grandpa offered. It stopped playing with its favorite football, too. Instead, it lay silently on the grass, staring blankly at the lake, missing its distant master. One day, Ethan's grandmother noticed the dog seemed sick. The food beside it remained untouched. The family rushed it to the hospital. The doctor said the dog's kidney function was failing, but they couldn't find a specific cause. Its days were numbered. No one knew the dog's dying wish was to see its beloved master one last time. Thankfully, in its final moments, the dog finally saw that familiar face. Ethan stroked it sorrowfully, saying goodbye to the companion of over a decade. With one last trace of longing for its master, the dog closed its eyes with contentment. However, something unexpected happened. Bailey's life had not ended. When it regained consciousness, it found itself reincarnated as a German shepherd, still retaining memories of its past life. But unfortunately, a certain important thing was missing from its body now. In this life, the dog's owner was a stern-faced police officer. Once mischievous, it now transformed into a hard-working search and rescue dog, Ellie. Under Carlos's leadership, it trained rigorously every day, solving countless major cases. For this, they received high praise from their superiors. Although Carlos still wore a stern expression, Ellie knew she had always been his pride. One day, they received another urgent mission. A girl had been taken hostage by a dangerous culprit. Carlos and the dog searched everywhere. Relying on the dog's keen sense of smell, they quickly found the culprit's hiding place. But just as they confronted the culprit, the girl desperately tried to break free and accidentally fell into a fast-flowing river. In the critical moment, the dog leaped into the river without hesitation. In the icy, bone-chilling water, it doggy-paddled a long distance and finally found the girl. The dog desperately clamped onto the girl's hat, dragging her all the way back to the riverbank. Meanwhile, Carlos anxiously searched the bridge for the dog, completely unaware the culprit had circled behind him. Just as the culprit prepared to fire his gun, the dog returned like a divine savior, pouncing and engaging the culprit in a fierce struggle. Carlos seized the chance to help and quickly subdued the culprit, but the culprit's earlier shot had not missed. The dog finally collapsed, unable to hold on any longer, as blood slowly seeped from its body. Carlos, tears in his eyes, repeatedly called for backup over the radio, but the dog had no strength left. Carlos held it in his arms, gently stroking it, staying with it through its final moments. Though this life was fleeting, it was profoundly meaningful. Embodying courage and fearlessness, the dog once again fulfilled a dog's purpose. But the cycle wasn't over. After a moment of disorientation, it discovered it had reincarnated again, this time as an adorable corgi. This life's owner was a kind woman named Maya. She adored this dog and named it Tino. Every weekend she watched movies with it and shared delicious treats. The dog felt incredibly happy. When the dog saw Maya feeling down, it would use its short legs to spin in circles on the grass, cheering her up. Unnoticed, the dog gradually grew up. The comfortable life made it start thinking about its own canine destiny. One day, while walking in the park, it suddenly caught a special scent. A Great Dane was approaching. The dog was instantly smitten. It scrambled over on its short legs, arriving beside the Great Dane, launching a passionate pursuit. Although the dog's confession failed, the Great Dane's owner, Al, and Maya hit it off. Soon, they moved in together. Through persistent courtship, the dog finally won the Great Dane's affection. The dog witnessed Maya's happiness from dating to marriage, and it witnessed the smooth arrival of their baby. As the children grew, the dog's life became less monotonous. It often played hide-and-seek with them, letting them do as they pleased once found, dressing it up as a loyal guard. Besides watching the kids, the dog always silently stayed by the Great Dane's side, protecting its safety. Their bond deepened profoundly, but the good times didn't last. One day, the Great Dane suddenly fell seriously ill. Al took it to the vet and it never returned. Soon, Tino had also aged considerably, and it realized that day was approaching. On that day, with Maya's sobs in its ears, the dog slowly closed its eyes, ending this happy and fulfilling life. Fortunately, when the dog reincarnated once more, it became a gentle saint, Bernard. Its new owner was also a cheerful girl. Wendy named it Waffles, and in its heart it was thrilled, believing it could enjoy another happy dog life. However, Wendy was only enthusiastic for a short time. After buying the dog, she chained it in the yard year-round, never letting it out or playing with it. She sometimes mistreated it, withholding food, and Waffles became nothing but a watchdog. As the dog grew larger, Wendy's boredom with it reached its peak, and she had her boyfriend heartlessly abandon the dog on the street. The dog couldn't understand why its owner had bought it in the first place if she didn't want to treat it well. Unable to find an answer but having no choice, the dog was forced into a life of wandering. While passing a park, the dog saw other dogs accompanied by their owners, their eyes filled with longing for love. It greedily sniffed the familiar scent, which was the smell of past happiness. Holding hope for the future, the dejected dog decided to leave the city and seek a new life in the wilderness. After walking for an unknown period, a field of golden wheat appeared before it. Looking at the scene, the dog felt a sense of déjà vu. In that instant, it seemed to catch a familiar scent. Suddenly remembering something, the dog eagerly dashed through the wheat field, sprinting toward its destination. The sensation of wheat waves warmly brushing against its body felt so comforting, and its long-sealed memories became vividly clear. Finally, the dog saw the place where it used to play with its first life owner, Ethan. It slowly approached in disbelief, eyes locked on the familiar figure in the distance, its heartbeat instantly racing. Even after 40 years, the dog recognized its old companion at first sight. Excitedly, it leaped toward the man. Though the boy from back then had reached his twilight years, the familiar scent remained unchanged. After 3 full reincarnations, the dog had finally found its master. However, this reunion was merely the dog's wishful thinking. Ethan simply saw it as an overly friendly stray dog. He kindly provided food but didn't invite it into his current home. Late into the night, the dog still guarded the doorway, refusing to leave, because in its heart, wherever the master was, that was home. To get rid of this peculiar dog, Ethan took it to a stray animal shelter. The dog couldn't comprehend why its master would abandon it again. It pressed against the cage, pleadingly looking into Ethan's eyes, but Ethan resolutely chose to leave. That evening, however, the dog's heartbroken gaze left Ethan deeply unsettled. For some reason, he felt an inexplicable fondness for this dog. The thought of it curled up alone in a cold cage made him restless and unfocused. Perhaps it was fate's design. The next day, Ethan heeded his inner feelings and came to the shelter, officially adopting the dog and naming it Buddy. Back home, he made a new dog tag for it and thoughtfully gave it a bath. Yet even after returning to its master's side, the dog still had an unresolved regret. To mend this, it decided it must find a way to reveal its identity to Ethan the next day. The next day, Buddy approached Ethan, wagging his tail and spinning in circles just like he did when he was little. But Ethan merely smiled faintly, believing any dog would behave that way. Fortunately, when Ethan opened the storage room door, the dog caught that familiar scent again. It successfully found the long-dormant football in the shed. Eagerly carrying the ball to Ethan, the dog watched as he looked at it in surprise. Remembering childhood fetch games, Ethan casually threw the ball. The dog immediately chased after it, quickly retrieving the football. Ethan happily clapped and praised it, but this wasn't what Buddy wanted. It barked incessantly at Ethan, then brought the ball to him. Seeing the dog's unusual behavior, Ethan recalled that difficult trick he invented long ago.
Wanna try it? You wanna get it? Ready? Go!
Witnessing the dog perform the move so skillfully, he stood frozen in shock, speechless for a long time. But he quickly regained composure. His boss dog had left decades ago. It couldn't be the same one. Thinking this, Ethan unconsciously voiced his thoughts aloud.
Are you the boss dog? Bailey?
Finally hearing Ethan call its name, the dog barked excitedly repeatedly, then urgently chased its tail in circles, fearing he might forget it again the next second. Yet fate seemed unwilling to separate these loyal companions once more. As the dog slowly approached Ethan and tentatively licked his face, it immediately received the long-awaited response. After 3 lifetimes and decades of wandering, they were finally reunited, forever and ever, never to part again.